All right, you guys. So we are in Exodus chapter 5, second book of the Bible, fifth chapter, and we are going to cover the entire thing. It's verses 1 through 23. And we are picking up right where in chapter 4, Moses was called by God through his burning bush experience and sent into Egypt to go free God's people, or the Hebrews, the Israelites. These are the descendants of Abraham. And so we pick up right where Moses and Aaron have met up, talked to the people, got their confidence, and been given the opportunity to go speak to Pharaoh on their behalf. They have elected them kind of their leaders. God says, send these people as representatives, and that's what they're doing. So it says in the start of chapter 5 that Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh that God said, the God of Israel, said, let my people go that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. We hear all the time, let my people go. Like they went in and was like, free the slaves. No. What they went in is they went in with the word that God gave them, and God said, tell Pharaoh, let my people come to worship me. So here is the conflict. Here's the reason why this wasn't a simple, oh yeah, God, go ahead, take a little weekend, go ahead and worship your God and come on back. Y'all got exactly 1 week off. I expect to see you on day 7. 3 days journey, go have your feast, 3 days journey back. I should see y'all tucked in. Y'all got a week off of work. This is why it wasn't that type of situation, because Moses went in and said, Pharaoh, who is like a God, who is the king of these people, who is a ruler himself, and said, hey, Pharaoh, my God said, give the people time to come worship me. And Pharaoh was like, what? I don't know who this God is that you talking about. I don't know this man. I don't know why people need to come worship him. I don't know why I need to let this go. King to king, your God doesn't deserve more worship than mine, or more worship than me, is what Pharaoh is saying. He has exalted himself to a position based off of who he is, where he is, how the people and their culture at that time. He is saying, I don't know your God. Why would I give my entire workforce, the labor force of this country, the day off, a week off to go worship? It is a king to king conversation. It is I'm declaring that my people should worship me over worshiping you by following your commands. They should worship me by following mine. And so Pharaoh was like, I don't think that's going to happen. And so they insist. Like in verse 3, they're saying, let us go worship, because the God that we serve is going to cause some problems for us if we're not obedient. Don't make us be disobedient to our God, having to choose between two masters. And Pharaoh was like, what does got to do with me? If everybody is so free and relaxed that they can sit around and plan a vacation, clearly they're not busy enough. If y'all have have enough time to make the decision that got jumbled up in there, if you all have enough time to make a decision like we gonna go 3 days away, how you know it's 3 days away? Y'all over here taking breaks. Y'all done scoped out a place for worship. Y'all scoped out a place for these people to go and get away. 3 days time is the journey it's going to take to get there. Y'all going to worship when y'all get there. Like, you didn't say how long it was going to take to worship, none of this stuff. And he's like, since y'all have this time to plan this vacation, since y'all had this time, you're clearly not busy enough. And literally, like, if you think about it, when we at work and you're like, man, I want to go somewhere. You go, you pull up a quick little website and be like, oh, this is a nice trip. I should probably put some money to the side. Let me think about getting a deposit. Let me throw it in the group chat. See if everybody ready to go. And that is what he's saying. If you got time to look around and plan a little vacation, get you a little getaway planned or schedule or something, then you don't have enough. You're not busy enough. And so what Pharaoh says is, matter of fact, get to work right now. Y'all standing here talking to me. Y'all holding this conversation. Y'all looking real Hebrew in the face. Y'all should probably get back to work. And what he says is, since you guys aren't busy enough, let's give you some more work to do. Prior to this, there was a joint venture in the work that they had. They would make the bricks. They had particular labors that they would do, but they were provided the materials for it. So now, instead of being provided the materials, they have to go get the raw materials. They have to get the straw that's used to make these bricks and still make the bricks. So the workload is now heavier. This is your boss saying, oh, you got free time? You got time to lean? You got time to clean? Anybody ever worked in retail knows that. You got time to lean? You got time to clean? No, I was catching my breath because I done walked 6 miles back and forth getting stuff out the stock room to help these customers. And that's what Pharaoh has said to them, basically. Since y'all had all this free time to cook up this little break or vacation y'all gonna take, let me go ahead and give you more to do. And so he does. So instead of giving them the raw materials they need to produce what they need to produce, the bricks that they're talking about in this passage, he's like, nah, nope, not gonna happen. So y'all are gonna go gather the straw and you're gonna make the bricks and your quota doesn't change. There's not going to be an allotment of time. You take the morning to get the materials together, then you take the afternoon to make bricks. So we're going to cut the amount of bricks you make by the number of hours you're able to allocate to that task. Nope. You got time to lean, you got time to clean. I'm expecting everything to get done. All the same work you were doing plus these additional tasks. And so it says that the people were scattered trying to get this. So now the people of Egypt have to go to wherever they're finding this. It's no longer brought to them. They have to go to the fields and pick it up. There is a step taken out of it. So a lot of time is being added to this. And what it does is it makes them less productive on the other end. And in verse 13, it says the taskmasters hasted them. They were hurried. They were rushed. And you have to still meet your quota. You're falling behind. You're not getting your work done. And it says that they had begun to beat them. At this point, now they're missing their quota, so they're suffering the punishment. They're moving slowly because all this wandering around to get the straw has made them tired when they get to the point where they have to get the work done. If you have to come in and clean up at the start of your shift because the night shift didn't do it, I'm starting my shift off tired. I'm starting my shift off overworked already. I've put in a couple of hours of work before my work even began. So now they're tired and they're falling behind and the demands are greater and they are being beaten and punished for this. And so in verses 15 through 18, the officers are talking to Pharaoh. So the officers are going to be the same leaders and elders of the people. These are the people who are in charge of their groups. These are the leaders of the teams who are working. And they're like, hey, y'all dealing with us real harshly. Like, what's going on? What's changed? What's different? And y'all used to give us straw, but now there's no straw. Like, you're making it harder for us to do this. You're asking for an impossible task from us. We can't not get it done. Like, we cannot get this done. And Pharaoh is like, y'all lazy. What you mean? Why is the work harder? Y'all was lazy. Y'all was out here planning vacations on the company time. Y'all was out here holding conversations with this dude Moses. You sent him in here to tell me that y'all need a break, that y'all got a vacation plan, y'all need a little time off. Clearly, if you got time to plan a vacation, you have time to get more work done. So I made sure you had more work to do. I don't want you to not have nothing to do. And he was like, so stick with it. Like, the rule is a rule. And that's what it is now. You gotta do both sides. You gotta gather and you gotta build. You gotta pull the raw materials together and you gotta turn them into the finished product. I mean, thank your boy Moses for running his mouth off, and now this is what's happening. And so in verses 19 through 21, they like, hey, friend. You came in here promising us freedom. You came in here saying that God heard our cries. You came in here saying that the Lord sent you as a deliverer of his people. You came in here making promises. You made promises. And what I'm seeing is it's getting worse. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. I don't even see God in this. All I see is you and Pharaoh having a conversation, and you probably cooked something up with them to make life harder for us. They start to complain against Moses. This is something they do a lot. They spend almost the rest of their existence complaining against Moses. But they're complaining against Moses because they're like, dude, you made promises. You said you were going to help us. You said that the God that we have been holding on to, this faith that is down to its last slithers, is God is getting ready to come through on that. We've held on as long as we could, and now it got worse. How is this God? How can we see God in the middle of this? And they were like, hey, God gonna judge you for this. You came out here using his name. You came out here promising us things. You came out here with all these big words and this big talk. God gonna see you for what you did. You made it worse for us, and God is going to see you for that. And so Moses prays. And Moses has the most honest prayer I've probably ever had or thought about in the history of prayers. When you pray and you're praying for God to do a thing that he's promising you he's going to do, and it seems like it's getting worse. God promised you money. God promised you advancement on your job. He's promised you that you're going to be successful and you're going to graduate. He promised you that you're going to be able to provide for your family, and you go into your boss's office because you prayed, God, you promised me that I'm going to be able to provide, and you go into your boss's office expecting a raise and you get laid off. God promised you that you're going to graduate, you're going to be the first in your family to get this degree, and you walk into there at the end of your first semester, you have failed the majority of your finals. You're like, come on, God. Like, I was here. I know you said that this was going to be the thing. I know you promised me this. I know it. And I'm not seeing how you're coming through. And so this is the prayer that he prayed. It says he went back to God. When the people murmured against him, when they came and they had a lot to say, they was talking trash. God gonna see you for what you did. They were talking trash against Moses. And Moses went to God and was like, why have you treated them so evilly? God, you told me to do this, and now it's getting worse and it's getting bad, and the people are upset and they are hurt. Why did you call me in here to make things harder for them? Why did you call me in here to make this bad? I didn't want to hurt anybody. Why'd you send me? I came to speak to Pharaoh because you told me to, and immediately things got worse. It is always darkest before the dawn. That is something I was told a lot of years ago. And sometimes when stuff get real bleak, when the situation gets really, really bad and it gets worse and worse and worse, it is worse and worse and worse. Like, it just is problem after problem. And it never seems to work out well. That is right at the edge of breakthrough. When you start to see barriers to the things that God told you to do. God told you to get up and apply for this job, and you apply for the job and they don't even call you, or you get that immediate denial. God, why you tell me to apply for this job if it's going to be a denial? When these doors start to close in your face, pray. You can pray the same way. God, you told me to go. You gave me the thing, and it's looking worse. Pray your heart. Moses prays his heart back to God. This is how I feel. This is what I don't understand. And I need you to help me to do the thing that you said you were going to do. What is important about this is Moses did not say, all right, we're going to put together an army. We're about to fight this war. We're going to overthrow these Egyptians and get our own freedom. He turns back to God to see, hey, how is this supposed to work? You said go. You said you were going to deliver them, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Sometimes when God makes you a promise, the promise does not happen immediately. It doesn't. It does not. The promise of a child starts with a positive pregnancy test. It is a very long journey between positive tests and holding a baby. It is a very, very long, hard, rocky journey. And when you are confused or sad or uncertain of these random tests that are given and these random results that you get and these random things that happen that seem to be contrary to what God says, go back and pray your heart. Do not change direction. Do not decide you got to figure out how to do this on your own. Do not make decisions on your own. Go back to God and pray your heart. Pray earnestly in the way that he prayed. In just these 2 short verses. God, you sent me. I was obedient. It's not working. So, quick recap, and then we're going to close this out. Moses and Aaron follow God's instruction, go in to speak to Pharaoh. Tell Pharaoh, God said, let my people go to worship. Pharaoh was like, your God said worship him? I don't know who your God is. I don't know what's going on, but I don't feel like that's something I'm going to do. In fact, since y'all got time to plan, some time off, y'all got some free time to think about it and discuss and put together, organize yourself in this kind of way, I'm going to make your work harder. So they took away the raw materials they needed to do the things they were supposed to do. So now they have to gather the raw materials and produce. And between these two roles now, without the support, they're not meeting their quotas and things are getting harder. The work is harder, the punishments are harsher, and people are now falling subject to this. So now it was already bad enough to cry out to God for freedom. And now it is like, God, how did you make this worse? God to turn the heat up on them. And so the officers of the people go and talk to Pharaoh and was like, hey, I thought we were doing good. We were doing what we were supposed to do. You know, what do we do to get punished? And they was like, you sent Moses and Aaron in here to ask for time off. Ain't no time off around here. In fact, you ain't got time to have time off now. There is no such thing as time anymore. Y'all just work. All work. No time off. Just work. And so they come back and they was like, look, Moses, all of this, everything that you promised us, everything you said about God is coming back and it's looking like it's going to be our death. You promised us freedom and it looks like death. You promised us a future. You promised us, you gave us hope. And it's all looking like death. It's looking like burden. It's looking like destruction. Where is this God? Like, God gonna get you for this. You should have came in here with this foolishness. And when Moses heard it, instead of him deciding, okay, I got to take matters into my own hands, instead of him giving up and turning back and going back home, instead of him having a conversation with them and going back with them, it's y'all fault. Y'all gotta believe. If you had believed or you had prayed harder or you had been any of this, it would have worked. Instead of doing any of that, because none of that's true. None of that's true. If instead of doing any of that, he went back to God and said, God, I'm sure of the assignment that you gave me. I'm sure of what you asked me to do. What am I supposed to do? Because this is getting worse and not better. When you are in a situation where the doors seem like they're closing, when your options are getting low, when the thing that God told you was yours is seeming like it's not, pray your heart back to God. Do not give up. Do not decide that you are not worthy, that you are not faithful. Do not take matters into your own hand, and do not go back and forth with people who are telling you no. Do not go back and forth and let your anger overtake you. Don't let your broken heart cause you to cut people up. Don't take the pieces of your broken heart and cut some people. Don't do that. Go back to God and say, God, I'm sure of what you told me. If I'm wrong, correct me. And deliver me and deliver my people. Deliver on the promise that you gave. Pray your heart back to God. All right, y'all. Be blessed.